So, according to the Wall Street Journal, Roger Koppel and Abigail Devereaux reporting, the Department of Homeland Security has announced the formation of the Disinformation Governance Board, charged, according to Politico, with, quote, countering misinformation related to Homeland Security, focused specifically on irregular migration and Russia. In a twist too implausible for fiction, the abbreviation is DGB, one letter off from KGB. The stated goal of combating misinformation and disinformation is framed to seem unobjectionable. Who objects to truth and pines for falsehood? DGB experts will guide the way, separating the informational wheat from the disinformational chaff. But there's one small problem with empowering truth experts. Experts are people, and people respond to incentives. Therefore, experts respond to incentives as well. Graham Medley, British expert involved in the UK policy response to COVID, illustrated the point in recent testimony before Parliament. The worst thing for me, he said, would be for government to say, why didn't you tell us it could be that bad? Inevitably, we were always going to have a worst case, which is above reality. Put yourself in his shoes. If you predict doom and nothing happens, it was because of your wise warning. If you don't predict doom and reality is worse than you expected, you'll be blamed and shamed. The incentives are clear. Truth experts at the DGB will proclaim grave threats around every turn when even any threats are minor to non-existent. The dangers of the DGB will be amplified if it becomes the tool of partisan political actors, and it already has. Executive Director Nina Jankowicz once described Hunter Biden's laptop as a Trump campaign product and has written that America's informational landscape includes declining trust in the media fed by the Trump administration's relentless attacks on the Fourth Estate. She has said, quote, unless we mitigate our own political polarization, our own internal issues, we'll continue to be an easy target for any malign actor, Russian, Iranian, domestic, or foreign, to manipulate. And here is Nina Jankowicz. I mean, this is an actual tape of her singing about disinformation to Mary Poppins. So we've got theater kids running disinformation departments inside the Department of Homeland Security. The Ministry of Truth is here. And the future is tap shoes stomping on the human face forever.
Laundering is really quite ferocious. It's when a huckster takes some lies and makes them sound precocious by saying them in Congress or a mainstream outlet. So disinformation's origins are slightly less atrocious. It's how you hide a little lie. It's how you hide a little lie. It's how you hide a little lie. When Rudy Giuliani shared that intel from Ukraine, or when TikTok influencers say COVID can cause pain, they're laundering disinfo, and we really should take note and not support their lies with our wallet, voice, or vote. Oh, information laundering is really quite ferocious. It's when a huckster takes some lies and makes them sound precocious by saying them in Congress or a mainstream outlet. So disinformation's origin seems slightly less atrocious.
So that is your new head of the Disinformation Department over at the Department of Homeland Security. Weird, creepy Mary Poppins. Do you trust her to determine what is misinformation, what is disinformation? And why is the government doing that at all? And why are the journalistic establishment not up in arms about this? I mean, you know, if Trump were doing it, they'd be up in arms about it. But you have the Washington Post actively cheering this stuff on. Hey, Barack Obama, a couple of weeks ago, he gave a speech in which he talked about how the government should basically crack down on social media to prevent the distribution of quote-unquote misinformation. The Washington Post, which I will remind you, is owned by billionaire Jeff Bezos, because only certain billionaires are bad, according to the media. Jeff Bezos is a good billionaire because he's on the left, but Elon Musk is a bad billionaire because he's not of the left. The editorial board at the Washington Post has an entire piece today titled Barack Obama's Smart Way to Change the Disinformation Debate. Barack Obama may have done too little when he was president to counter Russia's subversion of our democracy on social media. Now, however, he's trying to make up for lost time. The former president spoke at Stanford University April 21st to lay out his vision for fighting disinformation on the internet. His focus on the subject is fitting. The dusk of his administration marked a turning point from techno-optimism to pessimism after election interference revealed how easily malicious actors could exploit the free flow of information. But whatever blame the White House deserved in 2016 for failing to speak publicly about or retaliate against Moscow's incursions, Congress and companies have fallen even shorter in the years since by failing to enact reforms or reform themselves. And this is where Obama's ideas come in. His diagnosis is on target. The internet has given us access to more people, more opportunities, and more knowledge. This has also helped the nation's adversaries play on our pre-existing prejudices and divisions to sow discord. So we need to have Congress step in, and we need to have the law rein in what you can and cannot say. According to the Washington Post, again, these are your journalists, the people that Trevor Noah is praising as the people who are going to protect democracy. Remember, the Washington Post still has the ridiculous aphorism, democracy dies in darkness, emblazoned at the top of the page. And their editorial board is very much in favor of the darkness, so long as the darkness is being sponsored by Democrats in charge. Or how about CNN's David Zurwick, who says, you know what? We can't have people like Elon Musk taking over Twitter, because we need to control the means of communications in this country. We need control. We can't give up control.
There's a bigger problem here about how we are going to control the channels of communication in this country. In 1927, we had the Radio Act. 1934, the Communications Act. Congress stepped in. We made rules. FCC wasn't great, but it's still regulating the broadcast industry. You can't use vulgar language. You can't do all these things with speech. You need controls on this. You need regulation. You cannot let these guys control discourse in this country, or we are headed to hell.
We're headed to hell if people like Elon Musk own companies like Twitter. Now, I noticed that he's not really complaining about the major media conglomerate owned by CNN. I noticed he's not really complaining about the Washington Post right here, CNN's David Zurawik. These are your journalists. These are your journalists. Okay, and then they get together with their Democratic bosses and they party it up and they laugh at you because their problems are not your problems. Their problem is, how do we advance the interests of the regime? That is their problem. It is incredible how Orwellian all of this has become. We have a Department of Homeland Security that focuses in on opening the border and policing disinformation. We have a Department of Health and Human Services that focuses on puberty blocking children. We have a Department of the Treasury that focuses in on how much deficit spending we can do and how much more we need to continue to do. This is all Orwellian. It's just the reverse of reality. In a second, we're going to get to Alejandro Mayorkas, the head of the Department of Homeland Security, praising his new pick to head the Disinformation Department. This is just unbelievably Orwellian stuff. Alejandro Mayorkas, for his part, the head of Homeland Security, he was praising Nina Jankowicz over the weekend. He was praised as the new head of the Disinformation Governance Board.
Republicans are criticizing your decision, the administration's decision to choose Nina Jankowicz to lead this disinformation board. They say she is not somebody who is neutral. Your response?
Eminently qualified, a renowned expert in the field of disinformation. Absolutely so.
She's absolutely neutral, guys. She's absolutely neutral. And overall, the media are like, this is all. You got Brian Stelter. He literally said this. He said, this is Fox News misinformation. That you covering it and saying it's a ministry of truth, that's Fox News misinformation. Nobody should be upset about any of this. Alejandro Mayorkas, who again is one of the creepier figures in American public life, just because everything that comes out of his mouth seems to be a lie. So he is assuring us that he's not going to monitor American citizens. Yeah, I believe all of the people in structural power. I mean, it's not like they spent 4 years pursuing a Russian disinformation hoax about the Steele dossier, pretending that they were at any moment going to uncover evidence that President Trump was a Russian asset. I definitely, it's not like they trumped up a FISA warrant on Carter Page based on nothing. I definitely trust them not to monitor American citizens. These people are super trustworthy.
Will American citizens be monitored?
No.
Guarantee that.
Well, so what we do, we in the Department of Homeland Security don't monitor American citizens.
You don't, but will this board change that?
No. The board does not have any operational authority or capability.
Oh, they don't have any authority or capability because, as we know, the government is typically hemmed in by its own restrictions. They would never involve themselves in things that are beyond their permit. Yeah, you would never have, for example, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration trying to force every person in the United States to vaccinate. You definitely wouldn't have, for example, the IRS cracking down on conservative 501c3s. Like, these things would never happen. We should probably trust Alejandro Mayorkas. And I'm so glad that we have our journalistic hound dogs who are on the trail here, tracking down all aspects of ultra-crepidarianism from our governmental actors. Really important stuff. By the way, he assures us that they are not the opinion police. Well, I mean, how you define disinformation and misinformation is an opinion. Yes, you are the opinion police, and you've set yourself up as such.
Do you really think that Jankowicz is anywhere near objective enough for this particular job?
Yes, I do. And by the way, highly regarded as a subject matter expert, and I don't question her objectivity. There are people in the department who have a diverse range of views, and they're incredibly dedicated to mission. We're not the opinion police.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. And you're helped out by your friends in the media who spend all day, every day deciding which opinions are okay and which opinions are not okay, and then stumping for legislation to crack down on the opinions that are not okay. And they will force corporate America to do their bidding. Certain corporations are good, certain corporations are bad. And they can determine that by who they force to do this sort of stuff. They're refreshingly open about it at this point. It really is amazing. It is not a coincidence that the minute that Elon Musk takes over Twitter, you suddenly have a slate of stories about how bad it is to have billionaires involved in politics. Like, they're fine when it was Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates. When it's Elon Musk, then obviously the math is completely different. I hope you enjoyed that clip from The Ben Shapiro Show. If you did, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you stay up to date with all our future content.